Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023. I am going to begin with the S&P tonight, and I am also going to begin on the hourly chart. And start by saying that this has just been an interesting and sometimes very confusing corrective process to put in this minute wave 2, and then what has come to follow. And has left me at times wondering, like, what did they just do? You know, what was this? So it has taken a little bit of time to kind of go over, roll up some scenarios, see what the market is actually doing. And I want to share with you how I use the different styles. So in other words, I use a line chart versus the candlestick chart. And case in point, we had this quick spike up and return, and then it went up and did not break the top of that candle from yesterday, but it did in terms of the body of the candle. So it did put in a new high, and that can be seen more clearly when we drop down to the line chart. There was the previous, it went up above, and then here was to yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and what the market did, and actually putting in that nice complete minute wave 2. Now, going to go back over to the candlestick chart. Now, you would expect, okay, we're on our way down. Yep, looks like we're putting in 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're getting into the third, and then suddenly it's like, whoa, here we did again. A very quick spike up, totally rejected, and brought it all the way back down. So again, when we go over to the line chart, that's on a closed basis. So you can see that's where it occurred. We got this big run up, but hey, it took it all back. And so what it turns out being is that 1, 2, and then the 3 and the 4 and the 5. So the very small wave 1, and then a wave 2. And again, you see where I'm putting that compared to on the line chart. When you look at the candle, it's the one that goes all the way up. So it becomes very interesting that this is what takes place. So again, it's not really, because for all I know that this wave 1 is still in process, but I'm putting the 2 there because if we're going to be using the candlestick chart, that has to be something. So I'm actually probably should just take them off. In fact, you know, now that I'm talking about it with you guys, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say what I thought, and then we're going to let this play out tomorrow, because there's 2 things that I can add into this. That if indeed it's all the way back here, then this beginning of that third wave is still in process, as I was working it through again along with you guys, because I have to leave open the potential that this wave 2 is not done. That somehow we're getting up into an ABC, and this is maybe wave A, and this is an ABC, and this is wave B, and we're still going to do the C wave up, because that still remains the alternate. Now, I had left it saying that if the market started to break below 45.11, which it did actually, got down to what, 725, but not enough. And then it retook it and actually closed above it and is finishing the after hour session just above it. So when you think you're going to get some clarity, the market's like, well, no, we're not really going to be sure yet. So I'm just actually going to now leave that blank, because we have to leave open the potential. Tomorrow, they love the CPI. Maybe, I don't know. I know that the estimate, if I take a peek at it, I'm going to go over it and look. The consumer price index is the median forecast is for an increase of 0.4%. The previous was 0.2%. The median forecast is for 0.6%. Well, we've seen in the past when we've had an improvement of 0.1%, jumped this market 500 points. I remember clearly the day. And if you guys have been following me long enough, you remember that same day, the day where the NASDAQ, I think the Dow went up 1,000, the NASDAQ went up 500, and the S&P was like 150 or 200. That was on the number. So it wasn't like this is what it took all day. That was on that number. So what are they going to do if actually this is where the forecast comes in? This is where the consumer price index shows this, what I would think is a pretty large increase tomorrow morning. And then in turn, the producer price index shows a 0.1% increase on Thursday morning. How's the market going to be interpreting that? It is going to be real interesting. So we're going to leave this open right now, because here's both sides. If it truly comes in and they react negatively, which I believe they should, if it truly has increased by that much, it's going to pretty much seal the deal that the Fed is likely going to be hiking at least 25 basis points come the end of the month or come next Wednesday. All right. So in that case, we give up the ghost. Bam. Then that 2 goes there and we're starting on the 3rd, and I'll be able to work out what the heck all this was. Was this a 1-2? Very possibly. And now we're into 3, and that's just going to keep going. Because remember, I still adhere to what we're really looking at. If we are in a minor 3rd, it should just keep continuing to decline. And as you notice, every time we would rally with any strength, they knocked it back down. It rallied, they knocked it back down. It rallied, and immediately, not just to kind of worked its way, it immediately dropped, and then it started heading for new session lows and starting to break support levels and starting to break below moving averages. So, but speaking of moving averages, let me go over to this daily chart. And this is where it just continues to be interesting, because algorithms are programmed. Algorithms are programmed to know where these, at least on a daily chart. And I would imagine either the trader or whoever programmed it also puts in the same command that on a break, you start selling. So what did it do again today? Just like it did yesterday. Came down and touched it. Now here, that the low is 45.07, and this is showing that it's really at, let me see if I can pull this up. It's not going to, I got to get 45.07. So it came down and touched it and then went back up. So again, bringing it back down to that hourly chart, we can see went down to 45.07. Here, 75, that was at 45.07.25. So that's pretty much giving it a little bit of a blowing a kiss at it, and then rally back up. Not all that much, but did get back above it and closed above it to keep the market safe from really seeing that stronger selling kick in this afternoon, like in that last hour of trade. So tomorrow, though, if it kind of comes out like, yo, this is a serious increase, Fed, what, blah, 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 I'll fill in your blanks, then I suggest that this is going to go sailing through that 50, and it's just going to trigger. So if we're into the minute 3 coming down, it is going to subdivide, and it's going to subdivide more than once. But that would put us in the 3, right? Where's my cursor? This happens. There it is. It's going to be in the 3 coming down of the 3 going down. So it's a 3 of 3 move. And technically, if I'm marking this 1 and 2, it's in the 3 of 3 of 3. So again, when we talk about nesting 2s, kind of what is happening. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So all the way down to now we're inside that 3 of 3 of 3. Possibly. Now, if this is not done and they decide, you know what, we really did like that CPI number. It didn't come out as bad as we thought. So we're just going to stand here. We're going to buy it. Okay. Well, then my thought process is that it is going to be in an extended wave 2, similar to how we dealt with up here. We had to leave open that the possibility that this was ABC and this was the next, and we're going to do another ABC. But it could follow and now fall within this minute wave 2. So again, that's why these are still here, because that minute wave 2, 45.55, we still have that resistance at 45.41. We still have resistance at 45.55. The additional, which would have been up here closer to 50, is now rolled over a little bit more. So it's now equaling or just pretty much sitting together with the 50% retracement. So that leaves the 62% retracement as the open territory. But that's 45.55. So if they like it, and it likes it from here, depending on what happens overnight, but from here, that would be a 40-point jump. And then we still have above here at 45.75. So we wouldn't have to consider to back it all the way up to consider this X, and this is an A and a B and a C, until it were actually to break above here. And then we have this at 46.07. So I've left that in as well. So here we have the retracements, and here we have for that second ABC should, and that would be within the minor 2, not within the minute 2. So got a lot of stuff going on. These are the possibilities. But if you're like me, I hate surprises. So if I can't immediately see, hey, what are you doing now, market? Oh, okay, well, I have an alternate and accounted for up to there. Then I'm jumping right back in and I'm going to be trading. Or if it's going to really just flip and go solidly down, then it's a 3 or 3 or 3. I'm in there and I'm trading. And I'm not going to be too worried about it if they're really sinking this thing, and we have an catalyst, and selling and let it ride kind of falls into place. Again, if you're a day trader, okay. So we'll see. We will see. We will see. So again, we saw it on the daily. We see here they're all kind of rolling over. We are now below all of them. So what is the ticket? We got the 20 below the 200. We got the 50s below the 200 and below the SMA, which is now turning lower. So it's not, it's on a moving average basis, it's not a pretty picture. It is more getting in tune to go down. What we need now, that daily confirmation. That break of that daily 50 should sink this thing pretty cleanly and solidly. That's how I'm going to leave it. All right, so over in the NASDAQ, we have that same deal. It's kind of like, whoa, you know, this whole big thing right there. So on the hourly chart, let's kind of pull it open so we can kind of see inside. Same deal. Oh, that came at 10, and this is it right here. It's just this sudden, like, gotta have it. No, we don't. And so it was kind of like amusing. I was actually trading at the time, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? And so I was too late to kind of jump in because I thought, interesting, but then I watched how they tore it down. So I did capture some towards the end of it. Once it was very clear that it was just going to now slide and go lower and lower. And here again, we were expecting the federal budget, or we were expecting something to come out, and it didn't. So what we're thinking, or what I was thinking, is like somebody just needed Apple, somebody just needed something. So in any case, here we are in the NASDAQ. I've also labeled minute wave 2 as complete at yesterday's last hour high. And then this kind of coming in all overnight, and then we started to head down, and then I had to go back up and test. Because remember, I had left open here as well. We had the potential where we were going to come back up and go above that high to finish off the whole move. Didn't happen, but they sure kind of gave it a little bit of a try. So what is this? I did the same thing. I bring it down to the line chart, which takes away what I call the anomaly. So it takes away the spikes in any direction. So if we look here, we kind of get a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 3, and then a 4, 5 of 3, and then a 4, 5. So, and that would be maybe just the absolute first leg down. So within the 3 of 3. So I do not want to rush this count because of what we're confronting in terms of what's up in terms of what numbers are coming out tomorrow. So we will see. Let me put that back over to our candle so we get in there. So I'm leaving this open, which is now, you saw that I did the same thing on the S&P. Got to leave it open. Let the market tell us. So both sides still are functional here as well. If this is not at complete here, and this ends up being an ABCX, A, B, C. So we still get that. And that would, I believe we had, excuse me, the line would, the Fibonacci numbers lined up around 15,900 to 16,000 up in there. And it could seriously just take a peek, right? If we took that off, ABC, X, A, B, C. So both still have that room where they could do that. So again, it's going to be on the interpretation and how the market wants to interpret tomorrow's CPI. So, and we'll see. Now let's take a peek at the daily just to see where the NASDAQ is sitting in terms of its moving averages. 50 is still pretty far below. 50 is now right hugging the low of minute wave 1. Well, I have to tell you, if it comes out crappy, do I think that the NASDAQ can go from 15,400 or 480 down to 15,346 in a heartbeat? It was closing in on 15,465. This is after, breaking through these two fib levels pretty cleanly. And then this was up next, and it got down to that low today was 15,483. So it really came within 20 points. And 20 NASDAQ dollars, it's like blink your eyes and we're there. So yeah, it was close. So I think that if it does come out, it just goes right through that and then comes and goes through this. What's another 110 points? 110 points between the two. Not much. Now, what happens if it does? What does this now start to look like? Well, I need to go back out to this one. And now we're going to just reinstall. I mean, I have C, but that would be a crash taking it all the way down to there, to be quite honest with you. So that I am not looking for tomorrow. So I keep losing my. Okay, so we're going to go over, we're going to go to our extensions, and we are going to go from there. Don't make that, I like to be, I'm pretty much there. And we're going to go to there, and then we're going to take it up to here. So here we have them. So again, wave 3 would be equal to wave 1 at 14,396. Minor wave 3 equal to minor wave 1 at 14,396. Now, that I'm not looking for. I'm looking for wave 3 to be the longest and the strongest, which begins to point us down to 1.618. After equality comes 1.618, 13,498 or 13,500. In that hood makes more sense to me. Now, could it do that tomorrow? That's still going to be a pretty large drop, a very large drop. So no, but I think we can start creating some serious damage. Now I'm going to go back down to the hourly chart. And what do we got going on in between here? We can do the same thing, right? If indeed that's the end of 2, I will take it back off because we're leaving that open. But let's just go on the premise that they're going to hate it. Whatever that CPI is going to be, they're going to hate it. And so what can we look for? Well, here again, minute wave 3 would be equal to minute wave 1 of 15,192. I think that should this come out really as poorly as they're talking about, it gets there in a heartbeat and we start looking for here. Right? Minute 3, 1.618, 14,880. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's down significant. And again, I just keep going back to that day where we had that just this incredible, massive blow up off of a CPI number that came in 0.1% better than expected. Now, if this comes in as expected or worse, and they don't dump this thing, I am going to be surprised. But stranger things have happened. So again, there's our lineup. There's our numbers. Now, moving averages, we all can see that, not as severe as over in the, I said I was going to take this one off, didn't I? So let's do that. So we can see, we got the SMA, the 200 SMA, the hourly kind of turning. The 20 is definitely turned, now below the 50s. The 50 is turned, now below the 200. So it is beginning to line up for sure. See, beginning to line up. Actually, the 50 SMA is just crossing above. The 50 EMA is just crossing over the 50 SMA. And the 20 is doing the same thing. Each time this happens and it gets into alignment, it brings in more selling. I got to be honest with you, that brings in more selling. So here, if this starts to break this 200, then we're starting to drop into alignment. First down, of course, the 8 and the 4 already passed everything, registering this decline, which was sharp. Now, the 20, we're going to be even closer. So it'll be the 4, the 8, the 20, and then the 50 needs to come below. But once the 20 gets down there, it's going to get pretty serious and should not take very much time for the 50 to catch up and be with it. So that's our picture for today. I don't want to take up a whole lot of time. I want to get this out published. Again, tomorrow morning, CPI. That's what we've been talking about. CPI comes out at 8:30 Eastern. And then, tomorrow's U.S. federal budget. So tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern, U.S. federal budget. Well, we'll see how the consumer price index does, and then we'll see how that budget's going to work out. But anyway, have a great trading day tomorrow. Keep your rules. I think either way, I think we could have I don't think it's going to be choppy. I think it'll be very directional, but it's either going to be strongly down or half-heartedly higher. All right, next update, Wednesday, the 13th.